Today's guest on the podcast is Corb Lund. Corb is actually from Canada. He plays a lot of Texas dates, national dates, international dates. He took a lot of his work ethic from cattle ranches in Canada into the music business. We'll talk about his new album and then even a little history on his family and a great story about his great-grandfather. That's all coming up.
Let's go.
Cheers, everyone. Welcome to the Texas Toast Podcast. I'm excited. We've got a guest. I want to welcome Corb Lund. Did I say your name right?
You did.
We got to get that right. First of all, welcome. You have brought us some exciting music to our charts here in Texas. Your current radio release, I Had It All, was released, and I was reading through it. And as I read your bio and the backstory on the song, it's like all I could think was Wild West and like rugged. And then you listen to your album, and it's just so organic and so pure. So let's talk about your background and how you got into music.
Okay. Both sides of my family were ranchers in Utah in the 1800s, and they moved up to Alberta around the turn of the century. So I grew up that way around cattle and rodeo and stuff. And then when I was about 14 or 15, I got into Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden, and started playing music in a metal band in my 20s. And then I quite shortly figured out that I could play all the Marty Robbins songs I grew up with. So I started writing Western music pretty early on. But because I was in sort of an unusual underground rock music scene where they kind of encourage you to do your own thing and find your own sound, I think I kind of brought that over to my Western music. So if there's any quirkiness in it, that's probably why.
Yes, really, the whole album is loaded with some great songs. I want to talk about some more of those coming up. But I was really impressed with you're kind of like for a while, you did everything. You recorded in your basement, you did your own t-shirts, you did everything in the music business. And I guess that work ethic also came from being on the ranch and being in a rural area.
Yeah, I think country kids do that. Like you learn to do everything yourself, kind of half-assed, right? So
Right?
yeah, I mean, my approach to the music business was always with the assumption that I wouldn't get any help. So I just learned to do it. I was my own publicist and my own booking agent and everything. I had an alter ego so that I could say, "Oh, Corb's great. You're gonna love him."
I love
But
it.
yeah, I
Love
mean, you
it.
learn to do everything on your own, and it's kind of good because then when you do actually build an audience, and then the music business comes to you and will help you, and you sort of know how it works. So, but I've always been on the fringe, which I'm comfortable with. I like being the fringe guy.
I like that, the fringe guy. Let's talk about your connection to Texas. And you have a really cool song on your album that was Fort Worth It. So have you
Oh
spent
yeah,
a lot of time in Texas? Have you been around our music scene and our industry here?
yeah, very much for years and years. The first guy that I moved to Austin when I was just a kid, just because it was a legendary songwriting spot, and then
Mm,
I met Hayes Carl years and years and years ago up in Canada at a
gosh,
festival,
I
and
can
we've
so
become
see
really
that.
good friends.
Mm,
Yeah, Hayes is sort of the guy that introduced me to the Texas country scene, music scene, and since then I've played there. I've played a ton in Texas and got a lot of friends down there. Another friend of Hayes is named John Evans from Houston. He's produced a couple of my records, and I don't know, a lot of the Okie guys too. Lots of friends down there.
yes. And you do have some dates coming up April down here in Texas.
Mhm. Yep, I think New Braunfels and Copeland, and then what? Is
Lubbock.
it Lubbock? That's quite a jump, huh?
Hmm. Right, it is. You'll be doing a little bit of traveling. Well, that's exciting. So what made you decide to release to Texas radio?
Well, like I said, that the Texas scene was sort of the first place that really embraced me in the States, and I've been playing in Canada forever, but we have a pretty strong connection with that world down there. So yeah, it felt like a natural thing to do. I've done a lot of Texas radio tours too.
So, okay, well, you're already in the mix and your single's doing good. And let's talk about your album and the tribute that you have on the album.
Yeah, the record's called El Viejo, which some of you Texans will know means old man, the old man or the old guy. And that was our nickname for a guy, Ian Tyson, who's a cowboy songwriter from Canada who just passed away last year. He was about 88, and he was a very good friend of the band and personal friend of mine. And he wrote Navajo Rug. That's probably the one that people in Texas would know best that Jerry Jeff recorded. He and Tom Russell wrote that. He also wrote a song called Someday Soon and Four Strong Winds. But he was a good friend anyway, and a mentor to the band. So we dedicated the record to him. And that song, the title track is actually about missing him, sort of about
Yes.
losing somebody.
Yes, that was one that I had made a note of for definitely for us to talk about, and it's good job on that one.
Thanks. You know, you mentioned this earlier, Helen, but the we recorded the record in a really in a very organic way this time. Like, especially these days, you can make records with the computers and lots of layers, and you can fix things. And we didn't do any of that. We just the four my band and I, the four of us, just sat down in a circle in my living room and put the microphones up and hit record, basically, which is pretty neat because I'm getting to the point in my career after this is my 10th record, I think, or 11th. And I don't really like shiny big records anymore. I like records with warts on them and like where you can hear the humanity. I like that. So
Yes,
we kept it real raw and real organic. And I think that suits my songwriting style because I'm sort of I do a lot of storytelling kind of songs. And I
yes.
think the less computer crap between between the singer and the audience, the better. So we just did it really raw. And I like that.
I like that. Yeah, and it's I mean, it's so reflective in the final product of the album. It's a good one. And so I made mention of was Fort Worth it? Let's talk about your thinking behind that song and sitting down to write.
I have a friend named Jada Dreyer. She's from well, she grew up in Texas. She's from Canada actually, but she's in the high-powered horse show horse world. But she's quite an accomplished songwriter. And she and I are good friends. We've written a bunch of stuff together. I don't co-write very much. It makes me uncomfortable, especially with people I don't know. But she and I are good friends, and she had that idea and we just kind of bounced it back and forth a little bit, and then I fleshed it out, and then she fleshed it out some more, and yeah, it's just about it's we have a duet version also that we didn't release yet, but it's just about two people having a steamy affair in the stockyards and regretting it on Monday morning.
Oh, those regrets. Well, I just like so much of the verbiage that's in the song. The lyrics are so good. They're so spot
I,
on.
I
And
thought
you
the Cowboy side of the I-35 was a good one.
that's yes, that right there that is very catchy and very true. I mean,
And the
that
part
was
about the part about driving the Longhorns by, I thought that was kind of neat.
very good. Yes. So when you're in your live shows, are you that type of storyteller, like in between songs? Like, what are your live shows like?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I play a lot of solo shows, and I also play a lot with my band. I tend to yak a little more when I'm playing solo shows. I mean, I still talk to the audience with the band, but more so in my solo shows. But yeah, I try to give people a little bit of context. Most of my songs are about my own life or a lot of family history. I have a real rogues gallery of ancestors to write about, so a lot of my songs are personal. So I try to give people a bit of perspective about what they're about or why I wrote them because it's hard to fit into 3 minutes the whole backstory sometimes.
Right. And I
We
think
we
something that was in,
also oh go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, I
Go
was just
ahead.
gonna say also we've been doing this for so long that I don't use a set list anymore. Like I mentioned, we have 9 or 10 records of original material and we could play for 5 hours if we wanted to, but I've gotten kind of accustomed to sort of just I just start the show and then I just sort of feel it out and I have hand signals to tell the band what song we're playing next, like baseball. And so we don't ever use a set list and every show is different. So that's kind of we just I sort of try to sense where the audience wants to go and follow them there and take them on a bit of a journey. If you're
That's
at my show and you want to hear something, you got to yell it at me because I mean, chances are I might play it
you
or I
may not
might not. But
exactly. Well, that's good. That makes it exciting. Have you ever wondered how artists like Treaty Oak Revival, Red Clay Strays, and Aaron Watson maintain the high quality and high demand for their merchandise? CH Lone Star Promo is the answer. Created in Texas to serve Texas artists, and they're currently offering 15% off on all merch orders from musicians. Visit chlonestarpromo.com to get started and tell them Texas Toast sent you.
I was reading the other day that it takes at least $1 million to break an artist. That's a ton of change, and it can feel overwhelming. But with social media leveling the playing field, you just need an effective strategy to release your music. Check out Release Rocket to ensure your single does not die after release day. You've already put time, effort, and tons of money into writing and recording your album. Let the guys at Release Rocket keep your new release alive.
Something that I want to talk to you about because I'm really into ancestry and stories of like some of mine also. Your great grandfather's story that was kind of hinted to in the backstory on you.
the card cheat great grandfather,
Yes, yes.
yeah, he came out from Utah and homesteaded our ranch in 1902, I think, in Canada in the Rocky Mountains. But he
Mhm.
he before that, when he was younger, he was a road gambler in Butte, Montana in the 90s, 1890s. And Butte was a boom town then, all the copper. And there was all kind it was a rough, it was a crazy town, but apparently he was a bit of a card sharp. And I don't know, I thought it was just sort of a family folk tale, you know, but I have a friend in Montana who's a historian and he found his name on the police blotter, so I guess it's true.
Too cool. I love it. I
And then
went hunting there.
he was a bootlegger after that.
He was a wild one, wasn't he?
He was an entrepreneur, yeah.
He was just doing what they keeping up with the times back then, right?
Yeah. He was providing public service.
Exactly. So we talked about your tour dates. Is there any particular shows that you have coming up that's like a big one for you that you're looking forward to?
Well, we always like playing Riley's. It's fun. Yeah, Riley's is a bar in New Braunfels,
Yes.
and every time I go there, they show me. But they say they're the first official liquor license in Texas. Their liquor license is 0001.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's called Riley's in New Braunfels. It's pretty neat. It's an outdoor. It's very Texas.
Right.
It's like
Hmm.
it's very Austin. It's like a backyard outdoor deal with barbecue. It's pretty cool.
Yes,
That's
familiar
always
with
fun.
it, but wasn't familiar about those liquor license. I like that.
Oh yeah. We're actually doing a bunch of California shows this tour, which is for some reason, I don't know why, we've played the heck out of the West over the years. We've never spent a whole lot of time in California. So we're doing a couple, I think 10 days all through California. So that'll be interesting. And lots of Colorado, which is feels like home to me. Colorado is a lot
Hmm.
like Alberta, where I'm from, sort of, you know, cattle and oil and don't like the federal government, that kind of thing.
I love it. We have another Canadian plate that's all in our Texas music. Do you know Zach Neal? Have you met Zach yet?
No, I know of him. I don't know him yet though.
Yes, you'll I'm sure y'all's paths will cross, and he's
Where's he
just
from? Do you know where he's from?
I'm not sure exactly what part of Canada. I can't remember. I know he's been on the podcast two times. He's a real good friend of mine. I mean, we've become really good friends, and but I don't know exactly where.
Yeah, I should look him up. I've never met him yet.
Yes, he's good stuff. Good people too. So, well, before we wrap it up, let's kind of get on a personal side of you. Like, what are your interests outside of music? What do you do? Well, I know that you're pretty consumed with, I mean, if you look at your tour schedule, but things that are important to you outside of music.
Well, I ride when I can at home, but they make me fix fence when I get home off the road. But
Hmm.
um, it's all the stuff that I did as a kid that was a pain in the butt. Now is kind of I find kind of grounding. I guess if I was doing it for a living, it might not be quite so much fun. But yeah, it's good to put on some gloves and get dirty at home. And I play a lot of cards, and I read a lot, and take guitar lessons.
You take guitar lessons?
Yeah, I need to work on my guitar playing. I'm kind of a hack.
Really?
Well, there's always room for improvement, right? Like,
Always. That's for sure. There's always room for improvement. Okay, well, before we wrap things up, I have one last question to ask you. If you were a cocktail, what would you be?
I might be a Moscow Mule, I think.
Okay, that sounds good. All right. Well, Corb, thanks for joining us on the podcast. We'll be following you, and hopefully we can catch up with you as your paths comes to Texas, a brand new radio single out to Texas radio. I had it all. Corb Lund, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Al. Take care.
Stick around to hear a little bit of post-interview conversation with Corb and Miss Helen about Matagorda and fishing.
Refresh me where Matagorda is. I
Okay,
know it's on the
so
coast.
it's on the Texas Gulf Coast, and pretty much we're in between Corpus and Galveston
Okay, I was gonna
and
say, are you south of Corpus?
north.
North of Corpus. Oh, right, and then Galveston. Okay, gotcha.
Yes,
Cool.
Galveston, like Port O'Connor is close to us. Like if you're coming from Corpus, you're going to hit Port Aransas, Port O'Connor, Seadrift, Matagorda, and then moving over to Surfside and then Galveston.
Hayes told me that he sort of cut his teeth out in that area. I can't remember I think the little town he was playing in doesn't exist anymore because of the hurricane 10 years ago. But he told me a lot of stories about shrimpers and stuff,
Mm.
offshore oil riggers and
Yes, that's how we roll here. Yes, we have a big family that's a lifelong family that's shrimped here forever. And yes, we like to go out and hit those first rigs and get some snapper and troll for kingfish during the summer, and then we'll go way offshore. And and then I like to bay. I bay and offshore, but yeah, I love it. I love it.
what did you say about the rig? You go to the oil rig to fish? Is that what you said?
Yeah, we go out to the rigs because it's a structure, so it holds the fish.
Oh, okay, cool. Are they active oil rigs or?
No, no. And they've taken down so many, like they've just cut them down, like they're gone. Like we have another fish, a species that we fish for called triple tail, and we used to have these buoys and just things just lined up. You can just go one by one and try to pull you a triple tail out of there. And
Huh,
we went out to the West Bay, went out that way towards Port O'Connor, and like they were gone, just gone. Yeah.
wow. You know, it's interesting. That we have a lot of oil in Alberta too. So, like, my brother's he's a tool push. I know a lot of oil rigger guys, but some of those
Hmm.
offshore guys that come to my, because I have a song about called "The Roughest Neck Around" about oil rigger guys, and I get guys coming to my show in Corpus, and that's a different breed. Those guys are rough people.
Yes, some of them can get pretty, yeah, they're pretty rough. They're
Like
pretty
they're
salty.
they're 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 good to us because I guess they like the music, but they would I would want to have them on my side, I think.
Yes, for sure. And they're hard workers. They're out there for a long time away from their
Yeah, that's
family.
a crazy
And
job.
yeah, we have some friends that work some of their rigs kind of out of the Galveston area. He gets on the helicopter out of Galveston and goes out to the rig. He's a sweet guy. He's not really rough around the edges, but yeah, he'll drop down and catch tuna while he's out there working,
Oh, really?
catching tuna at the same time. Yeah. Mhm.
That's fun.
Yes. Good stuff.
Cool. Well, nice to meet you guys. We should have kept the podcast going longer.